Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. I'm Hilary Seabrook, and as always, Harmonious World is about talking to interesting musicians, and this time I'm talking to Patrisha Thomson, who is a jazz vocalist, educator and community artist based in Los Angeles. What you're listening to right now is something of an introduction to Patrisha Thomson. It's her version of In a Mellow Tone from her latest album, Wild is the Wind. I hope you enjoy listening to this and then to our conversation.
If you mope and groan, something's gotta give. Just go your way and laugh and play. There's joy unknown in a mellow tone. It's good to have this opportunity to talk with you.
Yeah, welcome to Harmonious World. It's really nice to have you.
It sounds, is this your creation?
Yes, it is.
I had that feeling. You're in England.
Yes, just north of London. And you're in LA, is that right?
Exactly. It's where I've grown up for the most part and lived in Boston for quite a few years as well.
Both sides of the continent.
Exactly. Yeah. Have you been in the States?
Yes, several times. And to both actually Boston and LA and quite a few places in between. So I've really enjoyed it. So I've got some good friends who live in America. So it's been really good.
So we're okay.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, look, it's really good to talk to you and to speak to you, especially about the Imagine and Uplift campaign.
Yes. Yeah. It's geared now more clearly for the in terms of the election. That's what it was designed to do. Not initially as a video, it was simply to respond to what we needed in the country to help us dialogue better together and be more harmonious with each other.
Yeah. How did it start?
I had just finished an album, or thought I had finished actually. We recorded in the studio my most recent album called Wild is the Wind. And the date we finished in the studio, finished the first time, was March 19th, 2020, and thought we were done. Yeah, that date, the shutdown date for COVID. And, you always think when something's happening in another part of the world, you think you're removed from it. And we thought it would be over by July. And when we finished and it was happening and growing, it felt to me this is something perhaps the entire world can finally get behind as a project together. And so I wanted to add a single with John Lennon's Imagine, and sought to license it to do that. And then on Memorial Day, George Floyd was killed. And I realized it needed to be a multiracial project. So it expanded, fortunately, to have much more meaning and more relevance, because people were ready with that killing. People were much more ready to say enough. Some people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That killing probably helped to divide the country more, because so many people wanted to go backward to slavery days and think that that was okay. But so the first two people were a married couple, the Chinese couple, who were part of the project, both wonderful singers. And Baldwin, he is also a fabulous beatboxer. He uses his body and he just has all these rhythms going, and he loved the Black culture that added that music to our lives, and he's wonderful at it. And I asked him first if he would sing on the project, and he said, "Oh no, Larice is much better at this." And I said, "I think you'd be great." And so they both got involved in the project. And the way I met them is very relevant. I'm a member of China Society because my great-grandparents went to China in 1886. And they were my great-grandfather was a medical missionary. And in those days, the women could be brilliant, but they mostly raised the kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she had quite a few kids. And when they went to China, my grandmother was 2 years old and lived most all her life then in China. She left when she was 42, coming back to the US for college. And my mother was born there and left when she was 13.
Ah.
So my involvement in, and they were instrumental in starting the China Society of Southern California, along with 160 other people who were diplomats, Chinese Americans, people of Chinese and Caucasian ancestry, who were very deeply involved in the culture at that time. So I've remained connected. And there is an announcement about Baldwin and Larissa doing a video of Baldwin's ancestry in Mississippi, the state of Mississippi. And it's become a wonderful project. They were doing Q&As at that time and showing the video. It's an hour video. Their video is really quite wonderful. Larissa has become a wonderful editor, and she's directed the editing. They've taken that video further by going around the country, showing the video and doing more Q&As and encouraging other people to do their ancestry, dive into it, know their history, and write stories, make videos. So
Right.
it's a project I like to share because it's just so wonderful.
Yeah.
And
So
it's so well done. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So they were the first two people to get involved with
Yeah.
this. And who came next?
I was in a workshop that include an expressive arts workshop. I've taught expressive arts and integration of art and writing, and I use imagery when I teach. And it's all about people honoring their own inner world instead of following trends in their art or using it for their own healing and expression of having the opportunity to create. Just that fabulous opportunity that's so life-giving. I've stopped teaching since COVID. It was too difficult to keep doing that. I was doing it through Santa Monica College and discovered a wonderful facilitator who was doing workshops for about 3 years during COVID. And it was tremendous way to get together.
Yeah.
I always think of myself as being a good teacher, and she's better than me. So that's a compliment to both of us. Yeah. But so the next person came out of one of those workshops, and she lives in Mexico, Gitu, who plays an equally wonderful role in the film, in the video.
Yeah.
And the next person was Chloe, who is instrumental right at the beginning of the video, mixed race. First, Gitu is both Hispanic and East Indian. Her mother being from India, or her father, I think, is from India, and her mother from Mexico. I hope I don't have it wrong, but she's half and half.
Yeah.
So we are all of different races. And the last person was the one who is kind of key. He serves a central place in Imagine a Better World. Ray Davis. He comes from gospel, and we both have been members of Agape International Spiritual Center, which is based in Los Angeles, but it has a worldwide presence. The minister is Michael Beckwith, who is really quite amazingly articulate, and it's quite wonderful. So that's where Ray came from, and he's done acting and lots of singing. So
yeah, he's got a lovely voice
in the picture. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So did you all record in the studio together, or were they all recorded separately?
They all were recorded separately due to COVID. Baldwin and Larissa have their own recording studios since they've done a lot of recordings of their own. And Chloe came into the studio. Gitu did hers from Mexico. Ray came into the studio and I was in the studio. So 3 of us.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the way we did the video due to COVID, I learned a lot during this process that either a green background, why the green works, I've forgotten, but the black, what you do see, we could easily seam us together, like stitch us together digitally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's come out as a beautiful thing, and obviously it's a wonderful track anyway.
Thank you. It was arranged by my my pianist we've worked together performing for about 17 years. And he wrote the arrangement, Steve
Right.
Rollins.
It's more than just a video and a song. So it's become something more than that. How did that happen?
Thank you for asking that. The initial impetus to do it was what I said, that I thought maybe now the world can work together in some way.
Yeah.
Clearly that's not happening, but in many places it is. And, drop a pebble into the lake and it ripples and ripples and has effects. So I'm counting on that, along with many other people doing something that is healing and smart. In many different ways, people are doing great things. There was a gal who's 19 speaking on a radio show just the other day, who's using social media from her generation. She's so fluid in it and trying to heal and bring people together. So that's the goal. With the election, I wanted very much to make a contribution to this election, to provide communication. I go almost annually to the jazz cruise in January that is out in the Caribbean and filled with amazing performers. And I sing with the passenger jam each time. It's daily, every day.
Oh, okay.
Making music. Yeah. We too, not only the hired people, but the ones who are passengers, do a lot of singing. I was sitting at the dinner table talking with someone, and I realized that people didn't know about an amazing organization that is, it was formed to encourage scientists to run for public office. And being in January, we were talking about, well, what do you do at home? What are you going to do when you go back? And I said, well, we have an election coming up and I want to do something. I'm not sure yet what it will be, but I want to help the conversation to work together.
Yeah.
And at first, this organization is called 314 Action, the science mathematical number. And I first put my attention on what they were doing because they encourage and also support and teach scientists who are running for public office how to manage it ethically. So it's all done very open and smart methods. And I started working with them, and we did a meet and greet online, and it was wonderful. It's very meaningful, and we showed Imagine the video right at the start. And then I said, "Well, let me just take Imagine a little further," and so I focused on that. But that was a great transition and segue into using Imagine in this way. I hired a marketing team led by the person who's on the website, Bao Vo, from Vietnam. And unfortunately, he's off in Vietnam right now. But Alex is the one you've probably communicated with.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
He's the one who reaches out and lets people know about the video.
Yeah.
And it's only recently that Bao was able to turn the website very clearly and pointedly towards the election. It was intended at the beginning, and we thought it was working that way, but it really needed some tweaking to have a call to action and be very clear and open.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
this is relating.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we're obviously on the other side of the pond, and so we're only aware of it secondhand. But I think we all know that this year is a very important year, isn't it? And that what happens in November is going to make a huge difference to the world.
Thank you for saying that. I was just about to say that. The comments from the rest of the world, each country has an opinion, and they've watched it and watched how our country pulled out of very important projects that other countries have all been part of.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
So
yeah.
we need to work together on so many levels.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I read the press release about Imagine and Uplift, I just thought, well, it's so similar to what I'm aiming for with Harmonious World, which is just about getting people to share what they're good at and talk about, the things that are positive and the things that we share rather than the things that differentiate us.
Yes. And the things that differentiate us, but it's exciting the way we are different and how exciting that is.
Yeah, absolutely. And celebrating those differences is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was your goal in creating
Harmonious World. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Just to try and get people to understand that we don't have to all think exactly the same to want, the world to be a better place.
And for each person too, to not have to demand of others that others think exactly the same thing. I think throughout history, people latch on to one thing and it has to be this way, and then it causes wars.
Yeah. Those of us who believe that there is something better in the world than war have to stand up and shout, which is exactly what John Lennon was doing 50 years ago. It's a real pleasure to talk to you, Patricia, and I wish you every success with spreading the word about this.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I appreciate your interest to do this so that it spreads the word further. I'm working on a new album, and I was having Imagine and Uplift that took a lot of time. So an original that I was trying to write is put aside until a little later. But a song that I found that is a Stevie Wonder song is featured on the album, because I'm doing duets with 3 different people, 2 men each individually. And one I'm doing with a female artist is, I'll announce it here for the first time publicly.
Wow.
It's been confidential and it's about to go out as a single. It's Stevie Wonder's If It's Magic. And the words celebrate. Do you know the name?
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
Oh, how great.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people will, if it comes up in conversation, I'm not sharing that I'm producing it as a song yet, but if it comes up in conversation, people say, yeah, that song, but I don't remember the words on that. They don't recall, but it's really celebrating all the nature that we live in, the profound, the galaxies, the sun is mentioned twice, the beauty of life.
Absolutely.
And there are key lyrics in there. If it's special, then with it, why aren't we as careful as taking pictures with a smile? It's lyrics that I sing, and we're just recording it now. The last line of this part is in keeping danger from a child.
Yeah.
At the end of the song is there's enough for everyone. It's just a gorgeous song, and I love the fact that we're doing it. So that's a special thing.
That's really exciting.
On the way to come out as a single.
Excellent. When will that be coming out? Do you know?
We're submitting it for distribution probably Monday.
Oh, okay.
And and then the time it takes for the distribution company to sort it out and
Yeah.
take it out
Yeah.
is maybe a week. So it'll be
Yeah.
in October. And then
Oh,
the
that's
album will be
fantastic.
out in hopefully October, at least in November.
Fantastic. Oh, well, that's brilliant. Well, I will point people to your website and make sure that they can access all of your music.
Thank you.
Uh, One of the things that's really interesting to me is when I talk to my members of my audience, and they say that they've gone down the rabbit hole of, following the links that I put into the show notes to find out more about people. So, the conversation might only last 20 minutes, but it takes them then to, research further.
Great. Do you mind if I point out one other thing about the Imagine and Uplift?
No, of course, carry on.
Okay. There's a second website referenced there. It's one that I did when I was teaching my expressive arts, integrative arts class. It's almost 20 years ago. I guided them to start talking about how they were feeling about what was happening in the world. And the writings were so beautiful. They did artwork and writing. It's called createabridge.org. It is referenced in there with several quotes, and then it gives the link for each image. And then the main page has a diamond with 9 images in it, and each image can be clicked on. And if you're using the right, like Chrome, that's a good browser to use, because you'll right away hear the voice
Oh,
of the
wow.
person reciting the whole writing.
Oh,
From which
fantastic.
the quote has come. I'm very proud of that. When I hear them speak and when I read the writing, it's just wonderful.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me on Harmonious World, Patricia. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I will put all the links into the show notes. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much. This is a pleasure.
Thank you for joining me for my conversation with Patrisha Thomson, and I hope you enjoyed listening in. What you're listening to now is A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square, which is taken from her album Wild is the Wind, but I know she's got a new album coming out any moment, and there's all sorts of exciting things to find out about, and I'll put the link in the show notes to all of those websites that she was talking about, and especially to Imagine and Uplift, this non-partisan campaign project inspired by John Lennon's song Imagine. I hope you have a particularly harmonious week, and please do click on the links. You can subscribe to help me with the costs of this podcast and to keep it independent without any adverts. So thank you for listening in.
That when you turned and smiled at me, a nightingale sang in Berkeley Square. The moon that lingered over London town, poor puzzled moon, he wore a frown. How could he know we two were so in love? The whole darn world looked upside down. The streets of town were paved with stars. It was such a romantic affair. And when we kissed and said goodnight, a nightingale sang in Berkeley Square.
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.